If it ain't Nolazine TV, don't put it on.
What's up, y'all? It's Quinashai Chelette, and you're now watching Nolazine TV.
Okay. Hey, but you sound like you've been with the city. So, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from New Orleans. I'm from the West Bank. Grew up on the West
It's the
Bank.
best bank, huh?
The best bank. It's so funny though. All my jobs been on the East Bank, so we have that love-hate relationship.
So, growing up on the West Bank, I want you to know, paint the picture and afford yourself growing up on the West Bank.
So I went to this Christian daycare. I can't even remember the name of it, but I know it was in Algiers, and I believe that's where we lived first. Then by the time I was like 3, we lived in Harvey, and I literally lived in Harvey from that point on. We moved, but we still stayed in Harvey. So I went through like Woodland West. I went through Helen Cox when it was a middle school before it transitioned. So then I ended up graduating. But for Katrina, I was gone for about 4 years, but I ended up coming back and having to graduate at Helen Cox. But other than that, I ended up leaving again for school, and I was able to go to live in 2 different cities and transfer and study a few things before I came back here. So.
Okay. So growing up for yourself, who influenced you to actually become one music artist?
What's so funny is I grew up, I really didn't even know what hip-hop, R&B, anything was. I didn't know really about secular music. Growing up, I had to like run into it on my own. I grew up Kojic, so I knew gospel music and stuff like that. So I didn't even know what hip-hop was until I was listening to it on the school bus going to school, and I heard Quinashai for the first time. And I was like, what is this? So.
And how old were you?
I probably had to, I was still at Woodland West, so okay. Probably like 4th, 5th grade, back when they used to play. I don't even think they played the radio on school buses no more.
And that was the best time on a school bus.
For real, it was. But I want to say for sure 5th, 6th grade before I got to Helen Cox.
Okay. So how old were you when you first transitioned from making, singing for the church and actually becoming an R&B singer?
Oh, it was a long time because I was a really good writer. So I knew I was a really good writer. That's all I knew. I would write like other people's hustles, selling other stuff. I used to I write papers. Sometimes I'll still do it for people, but that was my hustle, was typing papers and doing assignments like that. So I knew I could write. And what's so funny was I started to write a book of poetry, which I finished. And I wanted to record it in the studio, which is when I linked up with Nell. We ended up going to high school together, but we linked up like maybe 8 years later. And that's when I started recording poetry. And Nell was like, "You don't think you want to do music?" And other people was like, you don't think you want to rap?" This was back in 18. I was like, "No, I just want to do my poetry. I want to record my poetry."
You were still in school in 2018?
In college.
I thought I said you was in high school.
No, in college. But
so you fresh out of there.
At this time, I'm going to UNO.
Okay.
So when I transferred back. So after a couple years, I was like, okay, how do I market this book? I want to be on the New York Times bestseller. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I was like, you want to be honest with you? If you want to market it, you got to do some music and then attach it to your music once you start getting your music out there. So then I was like, well, fine, I'm going to do some music. And the funny thing is, all I really did was take a lot of my poetry and just put music on it. And I find the right beats that flow with it. So a lot of my music is going to have a very poetic flow to it.
Okay. So how did you come up with your music name?
That's my name. That's really my name. So
some people be like changing their full name.
No, that's really my name, and it's funny because, growing up in New Orleans, people make fun of you when you have like a funny sounding name. Even though a lot of people have a very unique name, a lot of people here do. But people look for anything to make fun of you. So, and then what's so funny is as I got older, Me and my mom heard so many different names over the years. We just made jokes about it. Like when she would pick me up from daycare or after school care, and they would look at my name and they'd be like, Quinashai. My mom would laugh so hard. That's a good one. That's a good one. So then when we would be at home and maybe I'm like acting funny or something, she'll be like, Quinashai Chelette. Like, so I like grew tough skin through humor. So by the time I really started feeling my name, my mom did tell me, when you turn 18, you could change your name. You know, because I know sometimes you had trouble with your name. But by that time, I was like, man,
I'm rolling with it now.
Yes, it's too late. And now I like it. So, you know, I never hated it. I just didn't own it as my own identity. And now I do.
But at least I know you tell the truth. Because your mom here right now. Okay, so tell the world, what's the average day like for you?
Oh my goodness. So I really do hustle. When I came back to New Orleans, I ended up getting a job with Hilton. And I worked during the day. I worked all the time. That's when I discovered we could get these Hilton discounts. So then I started traveling. That's when I knew I fell in love with travel.
Hey, so do you get the discounts at the Hilton?
I do.
Well, we gotta talk about that at the camera.
But that's how we started traveling. My friend was like, "Girl, let's go to Puerto Rico," and I'm like, "Why are we gonna go to Puerto Rico?" She was like, "Let's go." She supports me to this day. She'll be at some of my shoots and stuff like that. And a few of us went. We had a blast. We stayed a whole week, and after that, I started going to Puerto Rico like every year. But it inspired me to travel and to just engulf myself in culture and to live life too. So you hear in my music, like I love the Caribbean. I love like the vibes, the wave, you know, stuff like that. I enjoy a good time. So you'll also hear a lot of my experiences through my music as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so do you have any brand new projects coming up?
I do. I have a very interesting, it's funny, every project that I've released so far, which the goal is I'm going to be releasing singles. I will be dropping an EP maybe towards the end of the year. But since I have such different vibes, I want to release them as singles because as complete projects, they're kind of like everywhere. But I do have this dope project that we're working on right now. Hopefully it comes out later in the spring. But I'm also working on other singles and collabing with other artists as well. So
Gotcha.
Also it's fashion as well.
Okay. So tell us what separates you from other artists.
In New Orleans or in the world?
In the world. Well, what separates you from other R&B artists? Because nowadays, nowadays everybody I'm a hip hop artist, so they don't have that many R&B artists. So and when I be pushing for R&B, that can come back in full effect.
So yeah, for real, honestly.
As a matter of fact,
dope
we are actually at the place called the Loyalty Club, and they have an R&B artist that we trying to push. His name Jay, and he's like, he gonna tell you if he's like the next Bryson Tiller, but and we'll let you hear it after we do the interview. Like he's smiling over there.
That's awesome. That's what's up. What sets me apart is I'm me. Like only I can tell my story. And that's the only reason why I ended up in the studio. I had a story to tell. I was coming out of depression, and it helped me. In a relationship? No, just out of just a depression. The relationships didn't help, but I was.
And when you get hurt as an R&B artist, and the song always be better. Because we could feel the crying. We can feel you crying in the song.
When you in your feelings, man. When you in your feelings, you come up with dope stuff. But that's the sacrifice because you gotta end up in your feelings to become that vulnerable, to open up.
Do you want to get rich or you want to be famous?
For real, honestly. But what sets me apart is my story. That's why I got in the studio, because I know when I do put my book out there, people are gonna read in their own way. They're not gonna read with my voice, and a lot of my poems and a lot of my songs have their own personalities. So that was the only reason why I decided to put my voice out there. Anybody could sing my song, but they'll never sing it like me. So that's what makes me stand out.
Dope. Okay, so being in the music industry for a while now, tell us what you enjoy most about it, and tell us what you actually hate about it.
It really is hard work. I'm not gonna say I hate it, but when you're not working towards your dream and your goals, and you're working towards something else, and you don't want to do it, the struggle is more real, if that makes sense, compared to it's something that you actually want to do. It's still going to be a challenge. It is. So thinking that it was going to be easy, networking, meeting people, energy, reading off of people's energy, trying to see who's for you and who's not for you so that you can maneuver just through your career goals the right way. That's it can be frustrating sometimes because you have to let your guard down and trust people and realize you shouldn't have trusted certain people, but you get better through experiences. The thing I love the most is, oh my gosh, when people hear my music and say, I felt that, like, I thought you was talking directly to me. Oh my God, like, that's all I be wanting. I be like, really? That touch you? I did what I was supposed to do. So that's what I really love about it. And to be able to do that on a stage full of countless amount of people and everybody feel the same way, but from different perspectives can relate to the same thing, that'd be so dope. Okay. That'd be dope.
So, has there ever been one point in your music career, you just want to give up?
Sometimes, because life happens, and then you'd be like, well, let me put it on the back burner. I'm the type of person, I constantly reevaluate myself, and I line up my priorities. What makes more sense right now? What is the better investment right now? And sometimes you listen to your heart instead of your head, and then sometimes you listen to your head instead of your heart. But the only thing you can really do is cross your fingers and still hope you made the right decision.
Gotcha. So, how well do you take on that constructive, on that criticism?
I look for it. I really do. Sometimes I like to send.
So have you ever dealt with someone tell you, your music is trash?
I've seen it. I've seen someone saying it, but not directly to me. Yeah. I look for that too, because sometimes when I look for all of that.
And it kind of like motivates you.
If they try to shit on me, that's not constructive criticism. So I don't mind clapping back.
Yeah.
That's not constructive. But if they're really
that's just criticism.
Mm-hmm. Nah, that's just and then being bored and having nothing else to do. But yeah, talk about it. But no, constructive criticism, even though it would hurt, depending on who it's coming from, if it was negative, if I don't use that constructive criticism, then I can feel some type of way. But if I can use that constructive criticism and you can't apply that same, I guess, mistake, or you can't call out that same mistake or issue or problem that you saw, that's growth.
So, tell your fans, what's your favorite song, that you ever recorded so far? And I'm also, tell them why.
Man, it always changed, it's because you're always working on new music. That you all have heard so far, because I really only have 3 out, 2 officially out. Out of the, that's a good one. Out of the official 2 that I started dropping last year, I would have to say Rio de Janeiro. But I was in my feelings for both of them. So they both came out great. But
when you say feelings, you heard over someone, or you just had feelings?
I was in my feelings for the first one because I felt like I couldn't be me how I wanted to be me. I didn't have the creative freedom that I wanted as a person and as an artist. I couldn't be that. So that's why I talk about becoming my own hero. And just going wherever I wanted to go and just cocking back and ended up in Rio de Janeiro. But what's so dope about that was I was in my feelings. That's my first official song, and it ended up on Q93 like 4 or 5 months later. And it ran on it on Thursdays for the NOLA Artist Spotlight for like 3 months, from like July to like November. So I thought that was so dope because
it was love, huh?
Man, the crazy part was, I looked for it, I listened, I never heard it, but I
too many artists in New Orleans actually say it just ended up on the radio.
Man,
because people always fussing at the radio down here.
You reach out. I read articles. I study. I watch interviews.
Yeah, I'm about to ask you, like, how you even got on? Like hip hop. Like since 1987. They're way in Philly.
Man, I want to say it has a lot to do with your content.
Right.
And
you're not even a hip hop artist.
That's what I read too.
Yeah,
well, my second song is.
Okay, I see.
I hit the genre when if you look me up, you'll find me under hip hop now because of the second one. So I think all of my singles are gonna end up in their own genres before I really settle into my EP. But yeah, because the first one was pop.
You got a little bit of everything, huh?
But I think it was my content, and I think it was my brand identity, like the articles I was reading and the interviews I was watching, because I had to give them something to like and something to want, and like some sort of momentum. You
were like one of the few New Orleans artists I ever saw them actually post.
Really?
Yeah, because they mainly post like artists from like the East Coast or Philly because they from Philly.
Well, I lived in Philly.
Okay.
When Katrina hit,
it make a little sense
4 years.
now.
I lived in the suburbs because there was a military base called Willow Grove. They deactivated it back in 2009 when it was shutting down a lot of bases. But I lived in Philly, so when I wrote The Wind Blows, it was a poem originally. I just happened to run across a beat that fell to it. And I was like, oh, it's a song now. But it really gave a New York, like an East Coast type vibe. So I was like, man, I don't even know if it's going to pop in New Orleans. But I was like, I really feel like if I market it over there, it would pop more. So.
And it popped more, huh? Somebody picked it up, huh?
Somebody picked it up.
Okay. So, I'm like 3 years from now, where do you see your music career going?
Wherever it wants to take me. I'm going in all directions. As you can see, I'm also working in the fashion field as well as a fashion designer. But for second line umbrellas, I'm trying to bring more of a fashion presence to New Orleans and just represent. So I've been putting second line umbrellas on the runway. And the first time we were able to do that, our debut was in New York. It was in Brooklyn, New York, literally like weeks before the pandemic. So right after that debut, everything kind of exactly. So now we get an opportunity to just relaunch it and just see where it goes. So that's what's up. I'm excited for that.
Okay. So what's your advice to a younger artist that's trying to follow your footsteps?
I would tell them, write even if it don't make sense. Write even if you don't like it. You just never know, because I just happened to just let one of my friends hear my stuff. I wasn't even sharing it, and it was like, what did you should really put it out there. It took me 2 years to believe them, but definitely do it anyway. Let them criticize you, learn from there, grow from there.
Okay, so tell us what's next for you. If you plan on dropping merch, if having features coming up, etc., etc.
Right now, I want to continue to strive in, for example, my merch would be like my second line umbrellas, which is 3D art first and then a second line accessory second. I want to continue to put that into the fashion world during fashion weeks and stuff like that, be able to sell that product. That's it, kind of like my brand identity. I want to give more like a simplistic but luxury type feel, and plus it's you customize your culture, so you get in unique, individual, exclusive designs that match your outfit. Ain't nobody else gonna buy that because it ain't out there. I made it for you. So I want to do stuff like that, as well as an EP. Like I said, I want to drop by the end of the year after I put out a few more vibes so people can fill me out. Then I'm gonna slide out a little EP, which it might be in the more R&B, like you said, direction.
Okay, and also last but not least, tell everybody, what can he find you at on social media and just other music platforms?
All of my platforms are my name, Quinashai Chelette, my government name. If you Google me, all you gotta do is Google me, Quinashai Chelette. All my social media platforms is gonna pop up. And all of the sites that I'm streaming on, that's gonna pop up, website gonna pop up. And you'll be able to keep up with me and follow if you're into fashion, if you're into modeling, and if you're into just that individual, unique style of just you. You can find me right there.
All right, and we done.
All right.
Nolazine, make them scream. Nolazine. Make them SCREAM. Scream. Nolazine, make them scream. You heard me.